booktube and hoarding. And before I get into this, and before everyone screams at me that I'm shaming people, I'm going to tell you a little story. I'm naturally a hoarder. I force myself to clean out and get rid of stuff because I physically wouldn't be able to move. And that's kind of inbuilt into the genes of my family. You don't throw things away, you might need it. And I force myself. It's not healthy, and hoarding is not a healthy habit, and thought of being buried alive by my own crap is terrifying, so I intentionally am very good at just going, well, I don't need this, it can go to a charity shop. And I always tell myself someone else will need it, and I think that's far better. When the notion of getting rid of books comes up with any booktuber, take into account, and I was a bit guilty of this, not now, but I was, of keeping books, A, you don't like, B, you're never going to read, getting rid of books and then rebuying the same book when you're more in the mood to read it, or just buying a book because the cover was pretty and it reduces something that should be about the words into a piece of stationery. We've seen this thousands of times, and there does come a point where it's like, so do you actually care about these books, or are they just there to look nice with your fairy lights and rainbow bookshelves? When the notion of getting rid of books comes up, people immediately go to a really, really nasty place. Someone recently mentioned it, and it wasn't aimed at booktube, it wasn't aimed at, it was her preference. Keep 30, she has 30 books, but that's it. And it was like, booktube were like clinging onto their books for dear life, and like, oh, no one's coming to take my books. I love all of these books. These are my books. And then it went to quite a nasty place of shame, going the frame. I'm sick of people being shamed for having loads of books. No one is shaming you. No one is talking about that. It was a very nasty misinterpretation of actually some very good advice. So for me personally, I do unhauls and I get a great satisfaction from getting rid of books and getting rid of stuff. I'm in the process now. There's like 4 stacks of books here that are all ready to go, and there's even more crap going. I try and get rid of stuff because I live in a small house. I try and sort that out. I mean, that's my clutter. Like, all of that stuff there is my clutter. My Funkos, my Power Rangers, the dolls I've been given over the years, my Blythe doll, and my Daleks, and the Anchor bottle opener. That's kind of a set more than anything. And you will note the books on these shelves are constantly in rotation, constantly being cleaned out and constantly moving. There are certain books I won't get rid of, signed books, books that I really love, books that I will revisit. But if I've got a book that I've read, and my rule is if I haven't reread it within a year, it's 6 months to a year, it's time to go. That's my personal thing. If I've got, I'm not one of these people that has books they don't read. Every book I own has been read. And that's partly because I'm very minimal and I strip back and I'm a fast reader. Booktube is not a competition for reading speed. That's another thing that irritates me. I do about a book a week sometimes, and right now I'm not actually reading much. I'm just rereading Harry Potter because I want my happy place. When it comes down to it, you have this notion of hoarding, and it's not healthy. It's not healthy to hold on to crap. I'm the same with everything in my life. I get rid of clothes. I know people that keep clothes that they haven't worn in God knows how long, and I know someone that will buy 4 tons of crap in Primark and never wear it. They get rid of clothes after a few years that still have the labels on. Like, what's the point? What is the point of not all that, you know? I know that sometimes it can be difficult, but people misinterpreted what was said, and it got quite nasty. I felt quite sorry for her. I also, the fact that almost books are a comfort blanket. There is a thing on BookTube. How pretty can my bookshelves look? I must compete with these people. In an ideal world, do you know what I would be filming against? A white background. In an ideal world, just a solid white background and a little table with what I'm doing next to me and nothing else. I'd love that. I love minimalism and I'm far from it, but I'm working on it slowly. It comes down to in actuality how much space. You know, we're not all going to be in the same place forever. We might have to move house. We might have to immigrate. Our lives might change suddenly, and we're going to have 4 tons of books and crap that we don't genuinely need, which we can't get overseas or to a new address or won't have the space for. We might have to downsize. If you don't need it, if it's nothing more than if a book is nothing more than a pretty object on a shelf, give it to someone who's going to read it. Give it to someone that's going to love that book. Because it's quite sad if a book isn't being read, if it isn't an object that is all about the text. I mean, I've got some books with beautiful covers. I mean, this edition of The Great Gatsby is gorgeous. But I don't care about the cover. I'd have any edition of The Great Gatsby, as long as it's got what matters inside. I'm very pro ebook as well, because it's space saving and you can travel. And everyone goes, well, I can't read ebooks. It's not the same. Actually, if you read on a basic e-reader, i.e. a basic e-reader Kindle or the Paperwhite or a Kobo, rather than the app, it's just like reading a book. No eye glare, nothing. If anything, it's better on the eyes for me, which is quite nice. And you can make the text bigger and smaller and highlight things. It's like, yay. Especially when you're revising and you're studying and you can highlight what you need and just bring up a list of your highlights. It's great. You know, there is no shame in having a lot of books, but I always think, do you need those books? Do I need 50 million copies of the same book on the shelf? I don't have shelf space, and I think we have to be realistic. And I know this sort of weird competitive side of booktube is strange, and I don't particularly like it, but sometimes it's just good to clean house. Cleaning, getting rid of stuff, and it also means you can get new books. I'm a great advocate of second-hand books as well, because, you know, you're not spending a lot of money, and when you're finished with them, you can get rid of them. I'm an advocate for libraries because they're free books. There is thousands of free books in a computer system, and you just pull out a book you want, they'll order it, they'll bring it in, you read it, you give it back. The booktube tends, especially the big booktubers, tend to be down on libraries, but they are so important and so necessary. But also, I think that we do hold on to objects as a security blanket. I do get it. There are certain things that I have that are quite sentimental that I won't get rid of. It's good to clean up. It's good to clean house. It's good to make it feels good. And knowing that someone's going to take those books I don't want and enjoy them and read them, I give them to my local charity shops in Bury St Edmunds, and I will just, and they love them. And for the Americans watching this, a charity shop is a thrift store. And I love knowing that maybe, okay, I didn't particularly like this book, or I'm never going to read this book again, but someone's going to pick it off a shelf and go, yeah, this is really good, I love it. I always think that's a good thing. Also, library sales are really good because libraries want more money in their system, so it's a great way to give back to your local community. But I'm the same with everything, you know, get rid of stuff, clean out, enjoy yourself, make new space, because it's freeing and it feels good and it's a buzz. And coming from someone who is a hoarder, learning to break that cycle of hoarding things was the best thing I'd ever done.